Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. I am ManyNinjas. Welcome to the first of my In the Dark episodes, so to speak. As I might have mentioned on Twitter and such, at the moment I'm actually without a proper internet connection in my main home office due to an accidental snafu with a work order on the related phone line, which I have all my stuff connected to. So I'm out doing a series of Dark videos, including this OpenBor mod based on the Avengers property, Avengers United Battle Force, which came to my attention just before I got disconnected. As you can kind of guess from the music playing there, this is actually spun off the original Data East arcade title, which made a few home ports, and actually bears a lot of resemblances to that particular title, but with some of the newer cast. Let's take a look. First and foremost, all of the original crew from the first arcade title have been included in this game and had their graphics slightly updated to go along with the new motifs here, and in some cases some more extensive color separation in order to allow for extra looks, such as Iron Man with the multiple armors based on some of his other appearances, including one of my personal favorites, stealth armor. In addition to that, we also have some new additions such as the Incredible Hulk, who himself is kind of resized from one of the earlier, I think, LJN titles off the top of my head, but actually fits in pretty well in this new style here. In addition, we actually also have characters such as Quicksilver, who's been updated from just a mere cameo in the arcade title to now a full-fledged playable character. Emma Frost, if you believe. Thor here is included with a more modern look here, although his color is a little limited at the time. But as I was saying, Thor is new to the title there. Emma Frost is loosely based on her original X-Men arcade appearance, but of course updated to modern appearances. Henry McCoy has been included as well. His look kind of a resized version of the Mutant Apocalypse game. And I believe, I forgot to mention War Machine, although with a kind of a curious stance there. While you might think he's actually just kind of a redone version of Iron Man, no, he actually has his own unique set, including certain special moves that are actually taken straight out of his Marvel vs. Capcom appearance, including War Destroyer as his special Avengers power. Speaking of Avengers power, that means that there was actually a few extra gimmicks here. Each character has a certain kind of a power bar, which is below their health bar, which actually gets them to use certain special abilities. Each character has their own special abilities to go there, so you kind of have to mess around with them to figure out who can do what. But each one also has a special Avengers power, which is a very powerful move at the cost of a full bar, but does an immense amount of damage to pretty much anything on screen. As of this particular build, not every character has an Avengers power yet, but the ones that do look quite impressive. Anyway, let's move on to the action. Step into the first arena here of this three-part one-stage demo. We can already see that it's a very colorful world that's based off the arcade look, but with the way the character and enemy graphics work, they really pop out from the background there, which makes it actually really nice to look at. Thor himself, I'm not sure where he's based on, but he fits in right well with the rest of the universe here, with the enemies themselves making reappearances from the original arcade title by Data East. Nice effects borrowed from that original look as well, but they really fit in here. And just generally, this is kind of a feast for the eyes for the most part. Sound effects, as you might have noticed, come from the Marvel vs. Capcom 3 and Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 titles, although the characters that don't appear there, they also are voiced at this point. Vision has his own little voice sets, which I'm not sure where the source is, but if I had to take a guess, I'd say probably the original Avengers cartoon, Avengers Earth Mightiest Hero cartoon, before that one went out of syndication. And for the most part, all the characters have kind of a basic moveset, basic combos here, including dash attacks for that, where applicable. They also have their own little special moves that use up some power meter, in case Thor has Mighty Spark as well as an uppercut based one, which I believe is called Mighty Blow. There we go. They also have default special attacks, which let you do a little more damage, although it costs you a bit of your health, so it's the equivalent of a desperation move. I haven't exactly shown it off too much here on this particular, but they can also block certain attacks, which are really useful for when you are surrounded by a bunch of guys here. And here's an example of the Avengers power. It took the full 2 bars, but that pretty much killed anything it touched there, and if it were a boss, it would do a lot of damage there. This is unfortunately kind of necessary at this point. This, I should mention, is a beta of the overall thing, kind of a demo. The only thing I would say that I would personally request for, if the people behind this demo are listening, is that you might want to adjust the health values for the enemies, because either the playable characters don't do a lot of damage, which even on Thor, which is basically just one star down from Hulk, it's still, you have to actually kind of wail on your enemies quite a bit in order to actually take care of them, even at the general enemy mook level at this point. Whereas if you're playing Hulk, which I'll be demonstrating a little later, the jump in damage will be very noticeable. And if you're playing as someone weaker than, say, Thor or Hulk, the lack of damage starts to really show there. It kind of drags on there. And that's honestly probably the only real con I can say about the demo at this point. So, let's move on to show the later part of the stage. Alright, back here, and now we're going to show off the first real mini-boss of this particular title, the Hydra Golem. As you can see, the Avengers power really does a lot of damage here, but I have no idea where the Golem comes from, but it's actually a pretty impressive boss. With a kind of a simplistic pattern that will move around, actually hit you quite a bit. It's got a decent amount of range on it, and although it may look like it's kind of easy here because they're kind of mowing through the door, I have had a little bit of practice with this game, and especially if you have it with a few other enemies here, the Hydra Golem is actually pretty difficult to get by if you don't know what you're doing, to be honest. Not to mention that little kind of dash strike that it has there. Oh, and of course you can block too. Unfortunately, Thor can still make pretty short work of him, and we'll come back in a second with showing off another character new for this particular project, the Hulk. Ladies and gentlemen, now we get to the fun part. I liked what they did with Thor in this particular title. I really like what they did with Hulk. As you can see here, Hulk actually has, at least at this build, the most health in the game so far for playable characters. In terms of regular shot, or regular blows, unless you happen to get tripped up while working on something, Hulk has the equivalent of super armor, and while he isn't exactly too much of a combo-heavy character, everything he does is generally impressive and will mow down anything in sight. He also has a series of different grab attacks there. You can work out a few extra juggles here and there, and I can't really say anything I don't like about the Hulk playing him through this title. I actually prefer using the Hulk when playing through this demo. Now, the only thing I can say that is missing is, at least as of this build, Hulk doesn't have an Avenger power yet, as far as I'm aware, or at least I can't get it to activate properly. But from some videos shown from the developers there, they recently have added his Avengers power, so it'll be coming up in more playable builds in the future. Generally, for anyone that recognizes it, yes, this is the same, or an updated version of Hulk's sprites that came from that one platformer that was both on Genesis and Super Nintendo back in the day. And it's a much better use of his overall sprites because the actual platformer itself was honestly pretty awful. And it would be years until games like the one based off the movie and Ultimate Destruction before there would be a proper and really fun Hulk game. So having him in an actual decent platformer style like this is a really nice change of pace. Alright, 1 second as we're actually going to show the boss for this particular stage and demo. No surprise, ladies and gentlemen. If you're expecting Whirlwind, you're not going to be. You're in for a shock here, as we have a brand new character, a brand new boss. In Tiger Shark. This is actually carries over for all the bosses I've seen up to this point. It's just 1 or 2 hidden bosses and other modes. But just before the boss fights begin, you'll actually get a nice intro explaining who the character you're about to face off is. In Tiger Shark's case, it also takes advantage of the entire scenario there, where every time Tiger Shark actually hops back into the water, he gains a little bit of his health. And it also works in as part of a nice little AI pattern there. Although for some reason on this particular run he was kind of a little taunt happy for the most part. He'll also be able to hop in and out of the water, kind of do a diving slash attack, but if you are a weaker character he would actually knock you over for a bit. as well as another little bit of a small kind of combo or two that he can use against you, kind of making it a general interesting fight. Just like that one, ladies and gentlemen. As for ups and downs of the game, I would say in the pros, it's a nice roster update with really colorful graphics to the original Data East Captain America and the Avengers title, which is always a good thing here. All the characters have their own individual play styles, which make them fun to go and play as. The bosses are really nice. It's a really creative reuse of a bunch of different Marvel properties and Marvel games up to this point. And honestly, the only two cons I could think of are one, that it's a demo, so obviously not all the characters here are complete, but that's going to obviously change when things are a little more further along. And at the moment, there's a bit too much health for the generic enemies, which I imagine either a damage buff for the playable characters or adjustment of the health values of the enemies can fix in a jiffy, to be honest. Once more things are coming on here and a further update of this game comes up, I'll be bringing it up probably on the channel and showing an update video showing some things. And in the description, I'll leave a link to the demo that's currently out that's shown here, and you can give it a try yourself. Well, that's all I gotta say for now, ladies and gentlemen. Take care, and I'll catch you later.